Right guys, now for our next eyebrow raising dilemma. I was looking for a deep wheel similar to what you will get on older Land Rovers, and the Stokes seeming to make deep Land Rover wheels with a 17-inch rim up. This being a Disco 4 needs a minimum 18-inch rim to clear the brakes. I searched high and low, couldn't find anything. These rims are, as you can see, very shallow. I did buy spacers for them, but I like the look of the deep dish that comes on the Disco 1s, Disco 2s, old Defenders and that. So what I have come up with is this. I don't know how this will come up on camera, but can you see how deep that is? I think that just looks a million times better. That's the way they should be. In order to do that, obviously what we need to do is cut the welds to the back. Now this one's just been mocked up just to see what fits. Now I know there'll be people out there that are saying, oh, that's not going to be safe, or how are you going to balance them? We have got a jig made up for keeping them true. Obviously tack them up true and then seam weld them, and they'll be stronger than they'll ever need to be. The exact same. It's the exact same way that they're made in the factory. They're just stitched weld. So we're just all we're doing is we're just bringing this back, maybe 40mm, 50mm, something like that, and welding it up. So we've done one for mock-up, put it on, it looks decent. I don't think we'll be running this and the spacers. I think just increasing that offset is going to be plenty. So that's the next task.
I'm working on the front wheel, guys.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this arch on. This is the extended arch, so that when we put the big chunky tyres on, they don't stick out and get us into trouble. And again, my main man Junior is going to help me. Starting to see the difference here going from side to side. It's starting to look a bit silly with the wee narrow wheels on it. Back to that. So now we're going to stick on this rock slider, and I'm going to get this guy here to give me a hand. Think you'll be able to give me a hand, stick this on?
Yep.
stripped the airbox out and fished out the old bits of ducting. I've put the template on the wing here, so we'll get the holes drilled for that, feed the new trunking in and get the snorkel on.
Go for it, kiddo. Yep.
Right. Do you want to jack that?
Yeah, I'll jack that for you.
You jack it. guys, join us on a sunny afternoon. Discovery is done aesthetically anyway. 2 cars back side by side. You can decide what will work best. Both motors have more or less got the same modifications done to them. I've not done a great deal of mileage in the Discovery. I've only really used that over the weekend, so I don't have a lot of miles under my belt. But short-term comparisons, I can tell you, is Discovery is much more powerful. I did get it, it's a stage 1 remap on it. Discovery is much more powerful, much quieter, refined than the Shogun. The Shogun was very, very noisy and droney on those tyres. Handling, I would say the Shogun is probably the better driving car, taking the noise factor away. That Shogun was not phased in the slightest, being raised and put big tyres on it. The automatic gearbox changed gears exactly how it did previous, and it doesn't roll any different in the corners, it doesn't tramline. Putting tyres that size on it, you're always going to get a slight sort of steering wobble, sort of 60 mile an hour-ish. I've put balance beads in them, it does help a bit, but you always get a bit of something for them. They're no sports cars at the end of the day, but that Shogun actually dealt with the lift and the modifications really well. I've done some other Jeeps before, when you lift them, they drive horrendous. That motor drove minted. The Discovery, you can tell, has been lifted. You can tell that the modifications have been done to it. It's known anywhere, it's no bad. It has had 4-wheel alignment, and it's definitely not bad. But you can just tell that it is a bit higher, it is a bit heavier. It doesn't really roll in the corners, but the steering's nose direct. But like I say, otherwise, that motor is 100 times better. It's got the ZF8 gearbox in it. I went for a later spec model for that box. I know those gearboxes are good. I know there's plenty of tuning options online for them, albeit they're nearly all for performance modifications, for like faster shift times, for like chasing quarter-mile times and dealing with big power. That's sort of not going to help me with this. People were asking about the gearing being changed with the 35s on it. The gearing's fine on it. That motor, stage 1 remap on that motor with the bigger tyres, I would say was faster and more powerful than standard power on standard sized wheels. There is a flat spot, sort of 60 mile an hour-ish, where the gearbox would like to try and change up into like 7th gear, and the motor's no kind of making enough power at that, and it will kind of change up, change down. If you go just slightly faster or slightly slower, it's fine, and it has oodles of power. I have taken it off-roading just ever so slightly up steep inclines, and it has more than enough power in high range to spin all 4 tyres on the mud. There's certainly no problem with power or performance with it. Changed the front end on it, Discovery 4.5 lights. Went for halogen lights instead of the xenons, purely because 1, I didn't want to deal with the coding, and 2, I could put upgraded LED bulbs in them. I know you get upgraded LED bulbs for the xenons, but they don't make any difference, whereas in the halogen type headlights I found that they do. So I got I don't know if it was laser lamps that made them, or I don't know, it was some company anyway that made the LED conversion bulbs for them, and they are decent. LED 9-inch rounds on the front, they are just cheapos from Amazon. I looked at laser lights for them, and they didn't do, I couldn't find 9-inch rounds. They were doing like smaller ones or oval lights. They didn't really fit the fitment that I was looking for. They were off Amazon, and they were cheap, and to be honest, I've had them on at night and they are bright. I don't know how well they'll last in regards to if they're going to be sealed, if they're going to keep the weather out. Only time will tell with that, but for now they're doing exactly what they're meant to do, and I'm well happy with them. Modified the brackets and just cut the grille. They sit sort of semi-flush, they don't protrude out at all. I think they're fairly decent fitment. And the light bar, I've had hundreds of light bars on different motors. I understand they whistle, it's just something that you sign up for when you take them. If you think you're getting one that's not going to make a noise, you're going to find out very quickly that you're wrong. However, that one was on a different level. That was like sitting with a harmonica in your ear as soon as you went over 30 mile an hour. It was horrendous. What I've done absolutely short term with this is basically gaffer taped the fins on the back of it. It looks horrendous. but doing that, it is silent now, doesn't make any noise whatsoever. So I'll leave that for now, but with the intent of removing that light at some point and doing something with it. I've seen hundreds of kits online that do weather stripping, or I've seen people pumping them full of sealant or that, so I'll probably do something more permanent in the near future. But for now, that tape, the difference is night and day with the noise on it. Tyres, again, the ones on that Discovery were howling. Can't have a hands-free kit in that motor or anything like that, it just constantly amplifies the noise. This motor you can't really hear the tyres at all, and it's not the brand of tyres. The ones on the Discovery are Discovery Cooper STP Pros. I've had them on a few motors. The tyres are decent tyres, they wear good, they do exactly what they're meant to do. I don't blame the tyre whatsoever, it's just the design of that motor the noise travels through. These are Toyo mud terrain open countries. Never had these tyres before, but so far they seem to be decent. They're definitely quiet. I've not had this out in the wet here. Mud tyres sometimes on Jeeps, as soon as the roads are wet, can be a bit slidey. Again, the Discoveries on that Shogun, they drove perfect. Never really noticed any difference on them. I've got other off-roaders with other tyres on them, and as soon as the rain comes, they can be a bit not very nice to drive, shall we say, in the wet. But I've not had the extreme conditions yet to try a Discovery in, but for what I have driven it so far, I'm more than happy with those tyres. Answering a few of the questions that I've had, screen wash bottle, universal screen wash bottle from eBay. Pretty much everything on this motor was bought for eBay. I should be sponsored by them. It was a 1.5 litre bottle, so it's considerably smaller than the original bottle. There is nowhere under the bonnet of this to fit another bottle in. There's relocation kits online for American motors or lower spec motors that don't have the diesel heater, and it kind of takes up that area behind the headlight. Definitely no room in this motor for that. I managed to mount it in the back of the bumper, kind of where the original one was, just smaller, and used the extension piece for filling it. Managed to heat it up and join the two of them together. It looks absolutely factory under the bonnet. I have disconnected the headlight washers, so hopefully it doesn't use all of the water in the bottle. 1.5 litres isn't a lot. I don't know what the standard one is, but it's probably about half the size. So if it's half the size but I'm only using half the water, it should last the same amount of time. My math, but that's something that we'll see, but I'll just need to deal with it, I think, because I don't see that there's any room to add anything or make anything any bigger for any more capacity, so we'll just need to deal with that. Other question I was asked was brake pipes. The brake pipes on this are pretty simple. The metal ones, where they connect to the flexi, that's the join between the body and the chassis, so the body lift there obviously mounts that 2 inches lower. The metal ones, you just need to bend them ever so slightly and they bolt right up. There's no really any stretching on them, they are fine. As far as the flexi ones go, although this motor is sitting higher, the ride height's higher, the drop on the suspension is the exact same as a standard one, so the brake pipes are similar, are the exact same. I mentioned in the last video that you got spacers that go between the strut and the chassis, which will allow that wheel to drop probably another 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches. I have bought them spacers since, and they are here. I haven't fitted them. If I fit them, there is a good chance that I'll need to modify the flexi brake pipe on that, because if the wheel's dropping lower, it's probably going to stretch and break that. I have seen people putting limiting straps on them. If the only factor that it's limiting is for the brake pipe, I would probably rather extend the brake pipe and allow the wheel to drop further, rather than limiting how far the wheel goes for the brake pipe. But that's the brake pipes anyway. Other question, arches. They are universal Fender flares. I think they're like 40mm or something like that. I absolutely hate them. I'm not going to try and butter it up in any way. They do the job they are intended for. You can see the way the wheel is, it is right on the edge, front and back, so they are set up perfectly. I would rather have like an Arctic truck style wider arch. I can't find anything online for the Discovery platform at all. The ones on the Shogun, they're actually from an L200. I looked at taking these and swapping them over. The distance that these cover isn't really any different from the standard arch, so I would still need some sort of flare or something on that. I thought about getting somebody involved with a 3D printer to make me up a spacer that would essentially clip onto the wing, then the arch would clip onto that, sort of leaving this sort of flat finish, just essentially moving this out. So that's something I may visit in the future if I don't. If anybody has any other ideas on arches, please let me know. Let's say these ones are fit for purpose, they do exactly what they're meant to do. I just don't like them aesthetically. I think that there's better options. With a bit of time and effort, I think there's definitely a better option out there than just these rubber lips. But they do as they're meant to. Offset on the wheels, I've been asked about that. I've covered that in this video. I don't see a problem with how they've been modified, and I think they look so much better. The motor's been on the road for 2 or 3 days, and I have been asked umpteen times, where did you get the deep wheels? So I'm clearly not the only person that has been looking for deep wheels for one of these. It's obviously a noticeable upgrade. Why companies don't make them, I don't know. I guess it's to do with the arch situation, but there's definitely a void in the market there for offset wheels and arches if somebody wants to get on board and start making them. Rock sliders, they were second-hand Facebook Marketplace. They were like new. I don't know, the guy had taken them off, I think the car was going back. Nothing to report with them. The bolts straight on, do exactly as they're meant to do. I did clean up on behind them and under seal right up to that edge so that there wasn't any danger or anything getting caught in there. They are solid, and they do exactly what they're meant to do. Quite tight to the back tyre. I thought I was going to have to do a bit of modifying there, which wouldn't have been a big deal because they are solid steel, so you would be able to cut and weld them. But I've had this motor sort of off-roading, I've had the wheel clap straight up, I've had the suspension up and down. It doesn't touch, it doesn't even get any closer than where it is now to touching, so that was a relief. In the back, I've not had to do any modifying whatsoever. Splash guard, everything all went in as normal, just attaching these daft bendy arches. Bumpers was another question. Rear bumper, I don't think looks the best. It definitely doesn't look factory. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look factory. Biggest reason I had to keep this rear cross member, purely because of the tow bar mounts. I didn't want to move that and modify that. I wanted that as was, so I've had to basically half the bumper in two and bring it up. The holes that were there, that's the back of the parking sensors fit in there standard. They now sit on top of that, so there is a void in there. The bumper is still solid. It does still pick up all its original mounts. It's just got that height advantage now. I don't think it looks too bad at all. Front bumper, go back round to the front. I got a load of questions on this. I think this puts a lot of people off. I think the front bumper looks standard. I don't see any problems with the front bumper whatsoever. I'm more or less no running the impact bar. The impact bar, I don't know if you could just move it up, but I've hacked mine to bits. There's no much an impact bar in there at all. These still have like a sort of cross member sort of thing at the bottom of the body. It's all still there intact. It still has the cross member at the bottom that the toe eye's on. It's still all there intact. I don't see any issues with strength or rigidity. As far as hacking the bumper, you have to trim right at the bottom here where this cross member is. You need to trim that back because you're, instead of going under the bumper now, you're going against it. The toe eye cover, instead of covering the toe eye now, sits above it, but I can live with that because I think that looks decent. Obviously I had to hack this grille up to get these in. There is no structure in place to hold this middle bit. I have got bits of this grille and another grille. I'm going to try and cut some sort of shape out here, see if it can be bonded into that. I don't really like an open hole there, but otherwise I think the front end of that sort of looks alright. I do like the skid plan on the Shogun. That's actually for a Defender that was modified and put on that. I may go down that road on this because I do think that it made the Shogun look a bit rougher, a bit more capable, even though it doesn't really do anything. So I may get something like that for the Discovery. I think I've covered most of the questions that were asked. I have put in the virtual dash. It doesn't do anything. Oh, excuse me. It doesn't do anything that the previous one didn't. It just looks a lot more modern, a lot more it's just a bit nicer in general. There's loads of options on that. Everything works exactly how it did on the original one. You still have you still have a menu here where you can change all the settings, put it back, but again, I think it just makes it just slightly more modern. Everything else in this motor standard. There's a good chance that I'll probably be looking into getting an Apple CarPlay kit for this. I didn't really look into it before because you can't have a hands-free kit in that Shogun with the tyres, because nobody can hear you on it. On this one, it's perfectly fine in here, so I may look at getting a Apple CarPlay kit for it because it will be of use. The last thing that I want to touch on was the exhaust. I think it sounds minted. I don't have any issues with the exhaust whatsoever. I don't know how well you'll pick that up on camera. I'm all one for the Disco 2, TD5s, popcorn limiters, loads of Black Greek. That's sort of my thing. This, it's on a stage 1 map. It doesn't have any Black Greek whatsoever, but it does have that noise. It's no in any way annoying at motorway speeds or anything like that. Sounds minted as far as I'm concerned. It gives the motor a wee bit of character, which I think a load of new motors are missing. That was most of the point. This motor's never going to be used for extreme off-roading or anything that it's probably now capable of. It was more just to get a bit of character, make it different for the rest, make it usable. If we do get hit with a snowstorm, it's going to work. If we do get hit with floods, it's going to work. It's just something that it's there. I'd rather have it and no need it than need it and no have it. So see, as long as it's a 7-seater, it's quiet, it'll still do a long journey, it's got the tow bar, it's capable to be a bit rougher and ready. I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm no dissing the Shogun. That was a 10-year span I had that motor, and that motor was decent, and if it wasn't for the fact that the engine blew up on it, I'd still be running that motor. So that is a good motor, but having the choice of the two of them, I'd definitely pick the Discovery or the Shogun. I just think it's a bit more refined, a bit nicer to drive, definitely much more power, and fingers crossed when they snap cranks, the reliability is going to be a bit better on it. But that's where we're at. Any further questions or anything, give me a message, I'll do my best to answer them for you. But aesthetically, I think that's that motor done. There might be some small modifications coming up to the list. The last thing actually, do not try and fit the 35-inch spare wheel underneath. It doesn't fit. You just look like an idiot try to squeeze it between the chassis legs. So I probably will be having to put a spare wheel carrier on that. But otherwise, spare wheel carrier on the back, possibly a sump guard or maybe a winch bumper on the front. Otherwise that motor's probably going to look like that for now until it's dead. So aye guys, like I say, any questions, give me a shout. I'll answer them as best as I can for you, help you along the way. But that's us for now with this one. Thanks for watching.